Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Winucci when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging them moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine. Living Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Winucci when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got.
Hey, welcome to Fish Hunt Northwest. Sorry about that. Looks like we, Barnum, are experiencing a little technical difficulty. I blame it on Josh.
We have two producers now. We can't get the stuff straight.
Can't get this stuff straightened out. You're both fired. Anyway, we are here. We are live. It is Thursday night, 7 p.m. Fish Hunt Northwest is presented by Defiance Marine and Better Homes and Gardens, located in Puyallup, Washington. Our new sponsor, Barnum.
Yes.
Defiance Marine is on board, finally. We're going to be talking Allied boats, Arima boats, Defiance boats, obviously, of course, Defiance Marine and where they're located out there in Bremerton. Fantastic folks. Been working on this for a while. So happy to have them on board as one of our new title sponsors, along with Better Homes and Gardens, Pacific Commons Real Estate. So we're off and running in that regard. So glad everybody's tuning in tonight. Want to remind you all that we are live here in studio every Thursday evening, 7 to 9 p.m. via Facebook, and or you can jump over to our YouTube channel. Check us out over there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as that continues to build each and every week. We appreciate all the folks tuning in there. A couple special guests in tonight. Washington State Fishing Group. If you're a member of Washington State Fishing Group, congratulations. You found yourself amongst a host of folks, upwards of almost 40,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing good. Jason Humble. Bo Smith is also here as one of the guides, one of the very first guides that connected with Jason back in the day when they established this page on Facebook, and it's doing very well. So we have them coming in tonight, doing a few segments with them. We're going to walk through the journey of Washington State fishing, what that type of social media page is all about, what it does for our fishing community, all the good programs that Jason, his admins oversee, the charitable contributions, the families that they make a difference for, tons of stories, great outlook as to what's going on. And you know, we're also going to have the conversation on how important it is to finally start connecting all these social media fishing and hunting groups to work collectively as one voice to finally start making headway in this state. I believe, Barnum, if we don't start going down that road,
absolutely,
we're gonna just sit here and all try to pick away at the last fish or the last elk or the last deer.
We definitely have a lot more power collectively.
Yeah,
a lot more.
So there are certain groups out there that figured that out a long time ago. Of course, a lot of them are backed by substantial monies as well.
Yes.
That being said, they recognize the power of a united voice and a united message. And if you go to your state legislation, you go to your government, and the governor hears what you want, WDFW tunes into what it is the majority wants.
Right.
They tend to lend an ear when it's a little bit from here, and these guys over here want this, and these guys are looking for this, and they're all collectively doing good things, but there's so many messages out there scattered. You know, you can't possibly appease them all. So we need to start drawing our groups together in unison. You know, with a couple of 100,000 outdoors persons in our state, you would think we could unite and have a common theme, a common goals of accomplishment that we want, and lean on our government and lean on folks who are running for governor to help make change, afford change in this state. So
and now is the time.
Now is absolutely the time.
I mean, I've been on the earth for 41 years, and in the last 10 years, things are rough.
So
things are rough.
We typically live on social media. Throughout the week, we post up a lot of information. We encourage folks to join us there throughout the week because we're only live once a week, every Thursday, here in studio at 7 p.m. And so a lot of the stuff we post up, it's interesting. You know, there's a small contingent of folks get a little jaded if it crosses that line of political in nature. But I got to tell you, I didn't get into fishing and hunting because I want to deal with politics.
Right.
But in my 50s and having been doing this for all my life, not talking on shows, but, enjoying the outdoors here in Washington State, it has gravitated towards that. You can't, if you just ignore everything that's going on, you're going to wake up one day, it's all gone.
Yeah, and that's only going to get worse. I mean, unfortunately, that seems to be the direction that things are going. That's only getting worse. I mean, it's becoming more political, whether it's hunting or fishing. It's become more political every year. We had an individual, we get a lot of folks that kind of jump back and forth with some of our content, and there were some comments last week that were, the majority of outdoors folks, hunters and fishers, are uneducated and really don't care, or they don't know where to seek information. We're like, well, that's kind of the point of our show, is we bullet point a lot of the things going on and try to help educate the masses, try to light that spark that gets you, him or her, to go dig up that article, go look into this and read on it, go look at a counterpoint and read on it, make up your own mind. We have opinions about a lot of things, and a lot of those folks will agree with, and some of them people are like, those guys are whack, which is fine. And I want to state, I mean, an opinion is an opinion. I mean, an opinion you form from your environment as you grow up, from what you've seen, what you've heard, what you've read. You form an opinion. Doesn't mean that opinion is
how
fact.
You were raised.
That just means that's how you see that issue. That doesn't mean that can't change further down the line. And because somebody else has a different opinion, it doesn't mean, well, you're wrong. No, it's my opinion. It's in my mind, I'm right. Absolutely. You're also an adult and you feel you're right, and guess what? We're not going to convince each other, so we'll just, I mean, you can take one topic and you can pull a guy that grew up in the country that doesn't do the metropolitan thing, and then you take a guy that lives in a 3-story apartment building in the middle of King County, and he's going to have a different opinion or just on doesn't know anything. Same exact issue. And that doesn't mean either one of them is right or wrong. It just means that's the opinion they formed in the setting that they grew in. Yeah, so I guess the point of this is we cover a lot of the content we cover here Thursday evenings and throughout the week on our social media page, because we want to hear from people. We want to get insightful information. We want to know where folks are at. Believe it or not, it actually gives us content and discussions to have here in studio. We'll get people on the phone, or we'll bring in guests, point counterpoint. We'll discuss things that are going on. And I think for the betterment of all, those discussions are healthy to have. Absolutely. Because if it's just unnoticed, unchecked, if we don't have discussions on predation of sea lions, and the fact that our steelhead numbers are in the toilet this year, and nobody wants to peel back that onion and understand why that is, because I've been working very hard to get a few folks in here to start explaining why that is. And I'm hoping next week to find them in these seats, because that's a topic and discussion that we need to have. If you ignore all that stuff and don't couple that into that little category we kind of call political, you just don't unearth that stuff. You don't have those conversations. People don't learn anything, and then they have no reason to feel like we need to fight for anything. So that's kind of where all that goes. Other than that, hey, I want to remind you that yes, all this kind of segued off as we normally do, but you know what? Join us every Thursday evening right here in studio. Check out our YouTube channel, of course. Be interactive with us on social media. Hey, I was kind of mentioning at the start of the show last night, Shing and I made that real nice dinner out of that goose. And I guarantee with the marinade that was put on that goose meat, 9 out of 10 people would sit down at the table and eat that and think it was beef. There is no way you would think that was foul. One way, my dad would probably eat it and think, this is some pretty good steak. What is this, And he hates waterfowl, apparently, until we snuck it into tacos one time, and he said, what was it? I was like, that was duck. So, that's pretty good. Anyway, I put that post up, just say, hey, what's everybody eating tonight? Throw a picture up. I figured maybe because it was already like 6 o'clock, 6:30, something like that, we'd get a couple photos. That thing blew up. And Shing made the comment, there are a lot of people in the Northwest eating pretty damn good. Oh, hell yeah. Throughout our area, just based on stuff that they've gone out and gotten themselves, fish, fowl, or game, That's what makes the Northwest a beautiful place to live. I mean, the rain is... The hell with the rain. We're done with rain, Barnum. Snow's coming. Let the snow come, because the hell with the rain. It's a lot drier than rain. And you put the rain aside, this is a great place to live. Yes, I agree. Everything you could ever want is right at your back door. Yep. Yeah, and last night was an example of just how many folks not only following our page, but the amount of folks putting in effort. Now, this time of year, you're pulling stuff out of the freezer, right? Because especially when we're not out there fishing or we're not out there hunting right now, other than maybe some waterfowl.
those recipes are like just exploding on the page. It's great to see. So that's the type of interaction we want to see. Some of the different topics or articles that we'll steal from other pages and put on, we do that to generate discussion. Absolutely. We got a lot of new folks tuning in here tonight. We do. From Washington State Fishing. Welcome to Fish Out Northwest. Hopefully you guys will stick around and join us each and every week here. Jason's done a great job putting our name out there and showing that we're kind of tying up, connecting here to spread the information. So we'll bring your heroes in here in a little bit as we move on through the show.
Well, I'm glad these guys are tuning in early because the early bird gets the earthworm.
That is true.
Take that, Justin Martin.
Justin Martin. With that, hey, I do want to talk a little bit about some reading I've been doing the last couple weeks. I've been trying to wrap my head around why we find ourselves continually to decline on our steelhead plants. I'm looking at numbers historically. One thing I've stumbled across, and I'm working through it with some folks, though, as you know, our buddy Tom Ryle, back before he became employed with WDFW, actually was a vital asset in the restructure of the WDFW webpage. Right. The layout of it is fantastic. There's a lot of really good information on there. The problem is there's not a lot of information that goes back very many years. The furthest I can dig back is 2015. So as I'm trying to put together trends and information over our steelhead plants over the course of time, because I want to show historically where we were and where we are now, which I think is important for the discussion. There's a lot of things that key in on why steelhead plants have been cut back to where they are today. Right. I mean, you're talking ESA listings, you're talking gene bank recognition, you're talking steelhead management plans, you're talking NOAA. There's a lot of hands in the cookie jar that are saying no, you cannot plant steelhead. And it's not just here in Washington State, Oregon, Idaho. It's across the board. It's across the board. There's a lot of contributing factors. Some of those stem back to, prior to, recent cutbacks that we've seen. One article in particular that I keyed in on was a study that came out of Oregon. It, for the most part, is dealing with the, where the heck's my notes here, Barn? Did you switch my page up here? No, I did not. Are you sure? Yep. Okay. The Clackamas River, yeah. Oh, here it is. You got it? Right there. Yeah. Okay. I found it interesting that information that was out previously seemed to be so hard and fast that everybody was willing to jump on board with. Right. It said, oh my gosh, this is earth-shattering. This is exactly why we don't have steelhead, and here's what we need to do. And I get it. There's a number of studies out there over the course of time that have been proven and disproven or point counterpoint, but some of these seem to hold pretty hard and fast. And maybe I'm just, I'm a conspiracist. We all know that. So I'm going down the line that if I can provide you a study that says you can't plant steelhead for this reason, and you're looking at your wallet going, oh, you know what? We don't have enough money to plant steelhead anyway, so we're going to use that information, which to me makes it so I'm not the bad guy. That study's the bad guy. So we're not planting steelhead based on that research. So that is one theory, right? It's like, oh, you gave us an out. We didn't have money to plant steelhead anyway. Right. Or we're trying to get out of the steelhead planting business. Now, the other side of me, the rational side, says, specifically to WDFW, I can't say what truly goes on down in Oregon because 8-pound steelhead is a 20-pound steelhead. So they got other problems to deal with. But I say that sarcastically. Oregon, don't send me a bunch of hate mail. Oh, and I don't want to hear from you. So the fact is, there's obviously reasons for cutbacks, and I for one am in the camp that WDFW would like to see us maximize opportunity. You would have to hope so. You would really hope so, right? So if not, then why do we even have an agency? So I'm over in that camp until somebody convinces me otherwise. That being said, let's back up historically. So this most recent information that I'd been kind of reading, I just thought I heard a phone in my ear. Anyway. The Hatchery Steelhead study. This was actually published May 20th of 2019, written by Pat Hogland, Salmon Steelhead Journal, and it basically captured some information that was brought out by a recent study. But I'm gonna revert back to the previous information from Catherine Costo, who was employed by the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. So currently, when she was doing this scientific study, whether she's a fisheries biologist or whatnot, she worked for ODF&W. Right. She completed her study in 2006. Since that time, Costo, I think I'm pronouncing her Costo, study has been cited and used as a guide to change hatchery practices in the Pacific Northwest. Basically, as you read through it, if you look at the study, it comes to the conclusion that hatchery fish are bad for wild fish. The vast majority of them cite that Catherine Costo's study, but now that study appears to be in question. So when she finished her study, I don't know how many years it covered, 2006, a lot of folks, fishery managers and biologists and stuff that make those decisions said, oh, this is the hatchery fish Bible. Right. We're going to follow this because this is the one, right? It basically, with whatever was written in that document, and I don't have time to read the entire thing, so I'm paraphrasing the article, but basically, the bottom line here is hatchery fish are bad for wild fish. Right. So we must cut back on hatchery fish if wild fish are to survive. One of the fundamental flaws found in the study is that she did not take into account the important factors that may have caused the reduction of winter steelhead in the 80s and 90s. For example, ocean productivity and habitat were not addressed, which may explain the reduction in fish attributed to the hatchery fish in the study. It also should be noted a majority of the peer-reviewed manuscripts concluded no quantifiable effect of hatchery origin fish on natural origin fish and steelhead abundance. So you had a bunch of folks weighing in saying, I get what you're saying, but there's just not enough substantial data there that's going to support this theory. Right. That being said, it would appear this is one of the driving forces behind reduction in summer steelhead. Because there's been a big reduction. Yeah. In a lot of rivers. In a lot of rivers. Now this one again, specifically to the Clackamas, and we're going to stay there, okay? Right. So Ian Cortair, maybe he pronounces it Ian. Are you confused on the I-A-N, E-A-N? I always go with Ian. Okay, me too. So tonight it's Ian. Some folks say Ian. Cortair's recent findings, he stated in his report, he was aware of the research that had been done by ODF&W, and there was controversy around the paper in question about the accuracy of the author's conclusions, especially after seeing how things played out after it was published and then years following, right, when the hatchery summer runs were removed, okay? The new study shows that hatchery summer steelhead, now this is Cortair's findings, new study shows that hatchery summer steelhead did not negatively impact wild steelhead in the Clackamas River, and that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about summer run hatchery fish significantly impacting the survivability of wild winter fish. Right. Okay? She said it did. He's now saying it doesn't. Now, the test was very matter of fact. Did hatchery summer steelhead in abundance negatively impact winter steelhead production? He went on to say summer steelhead hatchery fish abundance did not show up as a negative factor in our analysis. Now, him and Garth Wyatt from Portland General Electric used 59 years of data that had been collected all the way back to 1958. This was basically collected North Fork Dam, located on the Upper Clackamas at the collection facility. So the fish come in, they're sorting and counting, right? They can count them. And this is like historical data that just people were socking away. The numbers don't lie. Not flawed. It's factual data that was there from the time. Cortair and Wyatt used annual adult steelhead counts and age data from PGE's database, North Fork Dam Collection and Sorting Facility from 1958 to 2017. It's almost 60 years. Almost 60 years of data. But they weren't convinced just utilizing that one reference point was going to be substantial because science relies on a lot of data points. So they went to ensure accuracy. They cross-referenced electronic records against archived data collection sheets. Winter steelhead counts. These were obtained out of the Sandy, the Willamette, and Hood rivers, which maintain counts at different fish passages. Those data sets were in the study and used as reference populations to determine whether trends in the Upper Clackamas winter steelhead spawner abundance diverged from trends, okay? In other words, they're gathering multiple data points to make sure this study was accurate. By 1975, so looking back at what was happening at the time, the production rates, and this kind of coincides with some of the returns we saw here in Washington State in the mid-'80s, and I'll give you those reference points in a minute, but in 75, a robust summer steelhead fishery emerged and was one of the top fisheries in the state. And to give you an example, a little historical value here, 1984, 11,000 hatchery summer steelhead returned to the upper river. 11,000.
Wow.
We had numbers like that in the Puyallup River in 84, 85. Herzog, correct me if I'm wrong. 84, I believe it was.
Okay.
10,000 winter fish. The Cowlitz River would boast numbers, with the massive multi-million plants of steelhead smolt back in the 80s. They had returns in the mid-80s of 10, 12,000 fish, 11,000 fish. So those numbers were achievable. Now, I also reading into this back up and go, well, that's 30 years ago. Ocean conditions were completely different. Water temperatures in the ocean are, no question, they're much warmer now, right? We have a lot of different factors weighing in. We didn't have the pinniped predation.
That's very true.
That's very true, that we have now. There's a lot of things that have changed in 30 years that have compromised fish returns, both steelhead and salmon. At the end of the day, though, this is where the numbers were back in the 80s because of the amount of fish that they were planting.
Absolutely.
That all went away because a few folks and a few research time frames and papers indicated that this out of control numbers of hatchery fish were compromising the survivability of wild fish. So you remove all those hatchery fish, you get them down to bare bones numbers. You and I have talked about numbers on our northern rivers the last couple of weeks. We're looking at 443 fish per river based on 500,000 steelhead planted for the entire Puget Sound Basin. Out here on the Grays Harbor coast, we're struggling. This is going to be a bad year. Bo's not smiling at all this whole evening because he's just, it's in dire shape.
It's up and down everything.
So these numbers have been drastically cut back based on studies, based on, at the time, again, ESA listings, NOAA, gene bank establishments. I mean, there's a host of things. Now on top of that, you put, as you and I continually talk about, if you have 100,000 fish coming back, and you got a bunch of seals and pinnipeds out there raising havoc and predating on all these fish, a big percentage of them are going to get by because there's a lot of fish. But if you only have 20,000 fish and you still have the same number of predators, a very small number is going to get by.
Very small number.
And that's what's happening is now these predators are forced to go after, you said it best, pinnipeds don't look at fins.
They don't check fins. They don't care.
Oh, it's got a fin. Let them go, Harry.
And that's what the scariest part of this whole thing is if you continue to cut hatchery production 6, 8, 10, 12 years down the road, you ain't going to have to worry about wild fish because there's not going to be any left.
The number's going to be so low, everything's going to be closed. Right? And guess what? As it would prove in this study, even cutting back all those hatchery fish, first of all, they stopped. 1999, the upper Clackamas Basin was destined a wild fish sanctuary. That's one of the early ones we started hearing that terminology interjected. They stopped releasing fish in the upper watershed. All fish were released from below, and they dropped it back to 260,000 winter and 175,000 summer steelhead. So that's been going on for a long time. As it turns out, on average, it looks like they get back to that Clackamas now, 489 winter wild steelhead. No, let me take that back.
Hatchery.
Yes, the hatchery summer steelhead on the Clackamas on average is 489. The average wild winter steelhead run is 1320. The average winter steelhead return is 364. So you've cut back on those numbers of plants. Your summer and winter hatchery fish are in the 300s and 400s. The wild fish remain at 1320. It hasn't gone up. It was the same number when they were releasing all them hatchery fish. You see my point? It
hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed a bit. Now there's a lot of other factors weighing in as to why those are where they're at. The only thing that has helped bump that wild fish making it to the upper spawning grounds and having those numbers, if there's any slight uptick at all, PG&E built, replaced, and modified most of the upper stream and downstream migrant fish facilities to improve fish passage conditions between 2006 and 2015. That's when they actually saw a bump in increase. Now, her study was finalized in 2006, prior to any of those retrofits being adopted or put in place or monies set aside to do that work. And yet in 2006 and 2015, they went in and re-engineered and did this stuff. And then they see a little bump. You cannot quantify that rate of fish return, albeit it's small, on the wild fish. It really hasn't changed all that much, but if there's any success to this story, It's based on the mechanical intervention.
Right. Not giving the fish away around the dam.
Yeah, not not to totally do away with all that hatchery production.
Well, calculating an otter fish are so hard to understand in the fact that there's so many factors from the time they leave the gravel or the time they leave the hatchery to the ocean and then back on a return. There's so many factors year over year to try to put any quantitative analysis on any one data point is you're not doing anybody a favor that I can see. I mean, there's just so many variables.
That one study resulted in the elimination of hatchery summer steelhead program because it concluded wild winter numbers could only increase with the elimination of hatchery summer fish, right? That was, hey, here it is. This is why you have no wild winter fish returning. Right. It's these damn summer hatchery fish.
Right.
That being said, what was found, there is and has been no increase in wild winter numbers. Overall environmental factors appear to have been more influential than the abundance of hatchery fish on wild winter steelhead productivity in the upper Clackamas Basin.
Right.
In this case, the segregated summer steelhead hatchery program coexisted with the natural origin winter steelhead population without negatively impacting adult winter steelhead recruitment. So they've gone through all this stuff, and they relied on a study that was finalized in 2006. And they haven't seen a bump in numbers because that's kind of the platform of hatchery wild coexist. Is that they're marching down, showing examples of where drastic intervention has been made, tremendous cutbacks have been made to hatchery production, at a loss of revenue for communities, at a loss of revenue and livelihood for guides and outfitters, at a loss of revenue for mom and pop shops, gas station, hotels, the whole thing. License sales.
Yeah, say fish and wildlife agencies on license sales.
Fish and wildlife agencies, both here and on the other side of the Columbia.
Right.
And the fact is that now we're starting to see, holes shot into the previous research that was done in some regards. Now, this is one river. Both these studies information are comprised and conclude and basically look at one particular river system and what goes into this Clackamas system. But there's other ones out there. And then there's others on the other side of the fence that say, no, your information's flawed. Here, I can show you how many studies that will prove you otherwise.
Right, you're cherry picking.
You can pull up data from all kinds of data points, and you can say, this guy did this study on this river, and here's what it is. Here are two factual scientific outlooks. One of them was a little broader, that being the second one with Couture, to say, here's the data from 1959. And we also cross-reference that with these other rivers and their facilities just to kind of get multiple bits of information coming in. I just find it interesting now that we've been drinking this Kool-Aid for 30 years that hatchery fish are bad for wild fish, and we've watched the demise of our fisheries in all facets, whether it's coho, chinook, chum, steelhead for sure. And I get it. We need to protect wild steelhead as much as we can. And there's a lot of measures in place to do just that. But one thing is for certain, as we continue just to cut back on hatchery production for steelhead, pretty soon we are not going to be fishing for steelhead.
No.
Because your ESA listing is going to be DEFCON 5. They're going to be so fragile, you won't be able to even look at them without them going belly up.
Right. That's the craziest thing that's happened over the last few years that's been amazing to me is we have to understand, if we don't have hatcheries, we don't have recreational, commercial, any type of fishing.
Right.
Because ESA listings are, hopefully we can recover fish, but we don't have a good plan in place at this point where we're seeing a boost in wild fish to say, this is working. If we stay on this path, 20 years from now, we're going to have wild fish back, and we're going to be able to fish wild fish.
Let me ask you this. So we have a big push in this state, supported by our current governor and his task force. Orca is carrying the flag for more Chinook production. Right. So they've spent millions of dollars on habitat, which is great. The culvert lawsuit settlement, in the end, it's going to cost billions of dollars, but in the end, is going to be really good for opening back up hundreds of thousands of miles of spawning ground that's been lost, right? So that's in the positive. Things that are happening in the positive takes time to get there. But as you open up those upper spawning grounds, it can't be nothing but good. We all can agree with that.
Right.
So there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work being done to clean up, even the lower estuary waters that are surrounded by industry and all that, even though some of them are the most polluted in the state.
Right.
There's a lot of things going on that are weighing in that go against everything we're trying to regain. But at the end of the day, they're like, well, we know we haven't recovered enough habitat. We know we're still working on water cleanliness. We know we're still working on trying to make sure these wild fish come back. But at the end of the day, the orca need to eat, so we're going to dump a whole bunch of hatchery fish in. And I'm good with that, right? But if it's the orca that's the trigger to say, well, now we don't have a choice, we just got to throw these Chinook in the water, what's changed that makes you say we can't bump the steelhead numbers up?
Well, right, I was just going to say, so why does the orca trump the ESA listed wild fish?
It's nothing's
because
changed.
They're cuter?
Well, because they're a vital part of the ecosystem, I get it.
But so are the wild steelhead in these arguments.
ESA listed Chinook, nothing's changed.
Right.
Nothing's changed. Other than that, they realize there's not enough wild Chinook out there for the orcas to chase, so we got to supplement with hatchery fish. Well, guess what? There's not enough steelhead out there for humans to chase either.
Right.
And our population is 7.5 million. Nothing's changed, but we're going to dump the dump truck loads of Chinook smolt into Puget Sound and hope for the best. Now, I'm all for it, man. I want a robust Chinook fishery in Puget Sound and in our rivers. Bring it back. Let's go. But I just think at some point, at least in our state, WDFW has to decide, are they going to continue with early Chambers Creek strains in certain rivers to provide that early November fishery that we used to have, that we all grew up accustomed to? That was usual and accustomed in our absolutely in our upbringing, right? So let's get back to our usual and accustomed as a coined term, and let's get those November fisheries back. And if it's Chambers Creek, great. If it's not, if that's detrimental to steelhead survivability, then start brood stocking and start bumping that run back a little earlier and elongate that run out. The difficulty there is you're brood stocking throughout 6 months of the year, which is expensive. But hey, you know what? Raising fish is expensive.
Absolutely.
You're either going to shut her all down or you're going to start giving us opportunity. The way we are going with this ridiculous model of, wild fish are down, we got to bump the ceiling on our hatchery fish. Oh, wild fish are down, we got to bump the ceiling. And when I reminded Mo at dinner that in 2016 we planted 172,000 steelhead in the Wainuchi, in this year's return we're fishing on 88,000, which by the way is 880 fish. If we're lucky. He wasn't smiling. Okay, so
if we're lucky.
It's enough's enough. Figure it out, science or what have you, but it's time to change some of these practices, and it's also time to provide some answers. And I'm really hoping next week we have a couple folks, or even one, sitting in these chairs with us, and we're going to talk steelhead. We're going to talk why we're managing them the way they are, what's the driving force behind dropping the numbers, how do we expect to survive if we can't get egg take, because the numbers continue to go down and down.
Right.
And we just want some answers.
Right, and I'm interested to talk to Bo today to see what all the doom and gloom that's been over our fisheries this year. Yep. What's the pressure like on the rivers? Are we seeing less fishermen? Because if so, you want to talk about a budget crunch that you're in right now. Continue this fishery that we have going right now for the next 4 or 5 years and see where your budget crunch is.
Well, if our anadromous fisheries continue to go the way they're going, we got to look for alternative sources. And for me, it doesn't quite fill it, but if I have to spend a couple years chasing bigger kokanee and triploids on the east side of the state, I'm going to be carrying the flag forward to say, get me some damn triploids here on the west side.
Right.
Let's start stocking some of these bigger lakes with a ton of triploids. We got a bunch of people out there with boats, willing to buy licenses. They want to go recreate. They want to catch fish. Spring through summer into fall, we could be chasing big trout on this west side. Give our anadromous fish a break if that's what it's going to come to.
Right.
But don't continue to take that all away from us and give us nothing.
Nothing.
So, there's some changes that probably need to be addressed, and some things that folks need to start asking for. Part of this discussion tonight with these guys is going to be how do we come together collectively in all these social media venues that live here on Facebook and YouTube and everything else.
Right.
How do we bring all those folks together and start, putting that information to WDFW to get resolution?
Can our viewers tell that Duane's having fish withdrawals?
So tired of it, man.
How long's it been since you felt that tug?
I don't even want to talk about it. I went out here the other day.
The tug is the drug.
I went out here the other day and threw a bobber in the lake just to watch it float. Just because. And I was hoping somebody'd call and, report me for fishing, and I had nothing hanging underneath it. So anyway, all right, we're going to jump out for a break. Barnum, nicely done. We come back. We're going to see if we get Austin Mosier on the phone. Talk about triploids and big kokanee and walleye. Austin is over there on the east side. No good. Can't get him. If we can't get him, we come back, we're going to have Jason Humble, Bo Smith sitting here in the seats with us, and we're going to introduce those boys from Washington State Fishing, and we'll get that dialogue going, and maybe we can catch up with Austin later on the show. So either way, don't go anywhere, stick through the commercial break, pay attention. Defiance Marine is on board, and we're pretty happy about that, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes, 33 seconds.
Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers, or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best.
All right, welcome back in studio. Looks like our hard drive has given David some fits. That's all right. He needs a challenge once in a while, Barton.
Yeah, it's getting way too easy for him.
Yeah, so
he's stressing.
He just gave us his IQ.
Yeah.
See that?
Two number ones.
That was the high IQ right there. Yeah. So for everybody to lighten up the screen here, hey, it's back. It's gone. We're back. We got to get those commercials up and going, though, and David's got to figure that out. So, hey, we want to welcome Washington State Fishing, Jason Humble.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
Good. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you, Bo Smith.
Yeah.
How's it going, guys?
Yeah. Got my energy drink.
Oh, yeah.
My chew.
I'm pretty famous for the Red Bull, of course.
Oh, yeah.
A dip.
I don't think I've ever talked to you, whether it's at a meeting, running to you in a restaurant, or out on the river without a chew in. So, yeah, it's good stuff. Jason, good to finally get you down here.
Yes, sir. We've been talking to you about it for a long time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, Washington State Fishing, kind of your baby.
Yeah, it's been my baby for quite a while, with a handful of good admin, and I mean, we turned this page into something huge.
Yeah.
So.
Did you expect it to go that big?
Oh no.
Yeah. What was your intent? Why did you all of a sudden get on social media, more specifically Facebook, and go, I'm going to start a group called Washington State Fishing? How'd that come to be?
So it started in 2015 with 3 other people, and in 2016 I took it over, and I saw a different way of running this group than the other guys, and I kind of took the reins on it, and it just turned into a huge thing in Washington State, where people are posting pictures and teaching other people how to fish, pretty much. I mean, there's so much different aspects to Washington State fishing that I love.
Yeah, well, I mean, Washington State Fishing, it's a huge title. We have so much,
right.
I almost said we have so much opportunity, Barton.
But we do still.
But everybody would laugh at me.
I mean, we have opportunity.
We do
I don't know if we have success in that opportunity, but we have opportunity.
You have opportunity.
The thoughht's there.
All the different species of fish that you can go after. You know, there's still a lot of unearthed little hidey holes guys go out and do. It's not even on anybody's radar. That's how diverse this state is, right?
Yeah, and that's a big part of this too, is just keeping those areas nice and secret to those guys that know where they're at.
Right.
What's your main focus on this page? What's it all about? Bringing people together?
Bringing people together and teaching them how to fish, whether they've been fishing for 2 days or 20 years, helping the people out, just tying knots for the first time, or pointing them to a YouTube channel to learn how to put a bobber on a rod, you know.
Yeah.
So,
talk about basic structure of the page, some of the rules, some of the things you guys strive for. Bo, jump in here if you got some words of wisdom, but just kind of the layout of what you guys allow, don't allow.
So with 40,000 people, one of the big controversy rules that I've had the last 4 years, me and my admin, was making a no river name group. And man, when we first implemented that, it was insane. A lot of people that fished their whole lives and spent the time going into the woods and finding these perfect little streams and areas where you have fish where nobody else was.
Right.
They understood it, because you get on a page with 40,000 people and you say, hey, I'm just going to throw, you talked about the Wainuchi River's absolutely killer today. I hooked 10 steelhead in an hour. And then you go back to that, you give them the river and the road to get there, and then you give them the next day you come in and you have 30, 30 is a small number, we have 40,000 people.
Sure.
Right. So let's say 100.
It'd be 100 trailers there.
Yeah. And drift boats and sleds, and then all that work that one guy did to find that little spot is just completely blown up.
Right.
So.
It blows me away on social media. People can actually look at a picture of fish holding up and look at the background and recognize where that's at.
Yep.
And I didn't realize, how many people could do that. I knew I could look at a picture and know 90% of the spots where these pictures are taken.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that can actually do that.
Yeah. Right.
And that's where the whole thing, this is my favorite spot. Now it's posted on social media for 40,000 people, and that really irritates them.
Oh yeah. Well, a couple hundred people see that, they know where it is.
Yeah.
Hey, looks like so-and-so is hot.
Message
hey, looks
in
like
their
this
friend.
river's blowing up. You want to go tomorrow? And that's how it spreads. Back in my younger years when I was fishing, of course, we had no social media. Most guys were drift fishing. We're going to talk about drift fishing tonight in the bait lab, just to kind of roll back the time. Yeah. But word spread slow. You also would get up in the morning after it'd been raining all night and go, man, I'm shape, make an hour and a half drive, get there, and it's punched out brown, and you go, son of a gun. Right. Oh well, I guess I go home. Now the information is in your pocket, right?
Absolutely.
Your cell phone, you can check, and guys do constantly.
Kind of takes the fun out of it, right?
Well, it becomes a strategy.
Yeah.
In my mind, it becomes a strategy because everybody has the information at their hand, and it's whoever is best at taking in multiple points of information and putting your plan together, and like where you're going to go. Oh, it's Wednesday. I'm going to hit the upper river. There's been fish in the river for this last week. I know they've pushed through, or and for guys just getting into it, you can have all that technology, but it not necessarily makes you a better fisherman. Right. Starting out, those are the people that get on the social media with the 40,000 people and go, hey, where'd you catch it? Hey, what are they biting on? Hey, what? Right. And I'm always willing to show you how, talk to you technique, teach you how to do stuff. When I was, part-time guiding in between days off fire department back in the years, my boat was a floating classroom. Guys were on that river for me for the day. I would teach them, I'd talk bait cures. I didn't care because I wanted people to get introduced into the industry and enjoy it and continue to be part of this brotherhood, right?
Absolutely.
So it's floating classroom. That being said, there were those times, and I know, Bo, you've experienced this too. You take people out in your boat, give them a couple trips. Next thing you know, they go buy a boat, or they find a way to walk into that corner hole where you guys had to bust your ass to get down to in the morning because the competitive nature of all the boats on the water. And that's the only one of 3 spots that's holding fish because of the water level. And you're like, we're going to go there, we're going to anchor all day, we're going to fish this gravel bar, you guys are going to have a great day. And they do. 3 days later, you row down there with your new clients, and guess what? Joe from Monday is standing on the rock. Hey, Bo, what's going on, man? And they're like, hey, you know that guy? He goes, yeah, that was my client Monday. It happens, right?
It does. It does.
But so social media is both a blessing and a curse.
So to get back on your rules thing, so the no river names, definitely, a lot of people understood it. The new people on the page or the new people getting into fishing were like, hey, you're just being a jerk pretty much. You're not helping people. Let alone they don't know. You look at my PMs and my admins can vouch for it. I talk to hundreds and hundreds of people. They'll PM me, hey, where should I go? What should I use? What setup's working right now? So we help a ton of people out.
Right.
It's just not on a public page with 40,000 people.
Right. For good reason.
Other big rules, I keep things very respectful on my page. I don't let the whole trolling thing of social media. I keep everything very legit and structured, and people are going to be nice to each other. It's a very family-oriented page. So,
yeah, like here, we don't allow people go off the rails, cussing and throwing all kinds of crap out there. We delete them. You know, we don't. There's no room for that.
No.
There's no room for bashing other people who, you know, maybe a guy goes and catches his first coho, and it's fire truck red with a black head, and he's holding it up, going,
he's smiling.
My first, best day of his life. He just learned how to fish this season. Finally went out on his own. Him or her caught their first fish. You get a whole bunch of people going, hey, congratulations, man. What do you do with that boot? What a dumbass. You're going to eat that thing? It's already smoked. I mean, it's just, you know, the barrage of negativity is just ridiculous. We're here as a fishing community to help each other out, build each other up. If you're new to the team, hey, you got to put your lumps in, man. You got to. We're not going to give you river names, right? Barnum and I will throw out river names specifically when we're talking like fish forecasts. Comparatively to this river, that river, we're not giving fish reports. Hey, this is off the charts fishing. We'll show river levels, talking about weather reports. Show you what this big front coming in is going to do the next couple days. Here, you guys can go to this site too, and we're trying to educate people
100%
with this weather report, river levels, go, no go type of stuff. Understand what is your max no go on some of your rivers, right? That takes time to learn that stuff. So if you want to say we're not helping educate you, globally, we're helping educate you. You got to dial it in on specifics, right? Yeah. So, and you guys are doing, you know, very much the same thing and doing a great job with the amount of people following what you're doing.
Yeah, and another big one too is like people that are catching wild fish and they're brand new to the fishing game, right? Holding them up out of the water and gills aren't staying wet and stuff like that. And back when I first got into this group and started running with my admin, people would just be blowing them up like, "Hey, you're killing that fish." But no, just nicely taught. Hey, next time keep them in the water like this. Keep their gills wet.
Right.
Take a picture like that. So it's just educating people versus blowing them up and being that.
And it's funny how trends go. So we went down that road of Washington State passing regulatory or regulations can't hold wild fish out of the water, right? So the grip and grin became somewhat belly in the water, gill in the water, whatever, head shot down the water. Then you get folks out on tribal rivers holding supposed, you know, unclipped steelhead under the gill plate, like, look at this 14-pound, look at this 18-pound steelhead. And you would get a whole bunch of freshly educated folks about the new law imposed on you can't hold wild fish out of the water, berating that person, when in fact you should go check the river they're fishing, understand the regulations for that river because it's tribal, and that person is doing nothing wrong. It goes both ways.
I've seen several posts here just in the last couple of days that when they had been posting those pictures of holding it up by the gill plates and it obviously has a fin on it, they put it right in their caption. This was a river that they do not clip hatchery fish on.
Because if you don't, you're just
you're going to get
yourself to get, you know,
by the wolves. That's social media.
Speaking of which, I know reading through your list of rules, you know, no tribal bashing, which I think is important.
100%. That is one of the biggest rules on the page also, because I mean, I don't let any negativity on this page. I don't let anybody bash tribes, the netting. I kind of just steer away from that altogether because that's a really hot topic in fishing, 100%.
Always has been. Yeah, you know, I grew up with it. I grew up with listening to my dad and his frustration when those rules and regulations were implemented and handed down in the early 70s. And it's been part of our culture growing up in fishing, understanding later on as adult, you know, deemed as co-managers and what that all means, attending meetings, understanding the parameters of which that communication model happens, albeit year in and year out, it's very frustrating. But there's no room, and it doesn't serve any positive purpose to call names, bash tribes for them, you know, holding on to what they feel is their right and their heritage. I get that. When I look at the tribal communities or the Native Americans across our state, and for what their history stands for, and for what some of their practices are outside of fishing, some of the other things they do, and some of the things they're trying to pass down in their generations, I got a lot of respect for that. You know, it's like I grew up Swiss. There's, you know, everybody, whether you're European or wherever your ancestors come from, there's heritage in your bloodline. And you know, you respect your grandparents and what they stood for and where they come from. And I think everybody is along that line. And you look at Native Americans, you go, screw them guys, because all they do is net fish. Well, not all of them do. Yes, do I hate the fact we still use gill nets? Absolutely. Am I jumping on the I love all Native American bandwagon? No, I'm not. But I respect their culture. I 100%. Respect their heritage. I don't respect their methods of continuously non-selective harvest. And now it's 2020, and we've not moved the needle one bit. Right. There's a difference, right?
What I like about it is nothing that you say on the Washington State Fishing Group or in the Fish Hunt Northwest group is all of a sudden going to get to the right person in Washington. They're going to go, oh, that guy's right. Yeah. We're changing everything now.
Yeah, nailed it.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Hay bales for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I mean, so going on here and spending so much time just berating native, any of it, it's just, there's more constructive things you can do with your time if you want to make a difference.
Social media,
100%.
That type of stuff, I mean.
It can't be allowed.
Well, those groups that are targeted take that stuff, and when they sit in meetings with WDFW, they go, here's what your people think about our people.
Sportsmen.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is your beloved sportsmen. This is how they represent the opportunities they have in this state. This is why we don't get along. And they're right. It goes both ways, though. I mean,
it does.
There's that type of stuff from the other side. So
I kind of just...
Yeah, and you have to.
You have to.
There are pages that don't.
Oh, yeah.
We mentioned a few of them before the show, and they just let all that stuff go and let people vent and call names and just berate people, and it serves no positive purpose. That is the type of stuff that won't get hunters and fishers collectively coming together to resolve any issues. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's on their own agenda. Everybody's kind of just trying to piecemeal and, you know, hey, we can get a little bit more money, we can do this, and we're talking to these lobbyists, or we're talking to this senator, and he or she says they're going to hopefully give us some time to work on this next thing. Well, that's all fine and good, and your intentions are good, but at the end of the day, a couple 100,000 voices collectively speak much more than even 40,000 voices, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's the message. So you have done quite a few organized charitable events and whatnot, right?
Yes, sir.
List off a few of them. Let's just look at 2019. Where are a couple of them that you did in 2019?
2019. So I think the first one I sold. So I have a clothing line of stuff. I sold my decals for $10 a piece. And I don't even, a lot of people do like all proceeds go to the fundraiser.
Write that down. Decals are going for $10?
So for this, I sold for $10 a piece, and normally companies are all proceeds go to I ate money. Like every single dollar and dime went to this fundraiser. It was, we rented a trout pond for kids, and I mean, this thing blew up in 24 hours, less than like a half day. We raised like $1,500 to rent this trout pond.
Yeah.
In correlation with Sportco, so we went and rented the pond, went to Sportco, set up this huge thing, and we had over like 300 kids come out and catch their first trout.
Oh. I want to back Jason up here just a second. He calls me up and tells me this the night before and tells me this idea. He goes, look at that, I'm thinking about doing this. I want to sell decals or something like this so we can raise some money to do this trout pond idea. And I think I'm gonna give this a shot. And I come back and said, all right. Sounds like a great idea, good plan. Said, send me 20 of the decals. I'll sell them to my clients on the boat when we go fishing.
Sure.
And to help out.
Yeah.
And the next day, calls me up. He goes, I don't have any decals for you.
They sold out that fast.
I went, what do you mean you don't have any decals? He goes, well, I sold them all.
Did you really?
Yeah. So it blew up so fast that I couldn't even like. For the fishing community, when you say kids and fishing and getting kids started in the fishing...
But you get people's attention.
Oh my gosh, it went... So, yeah, we rented the trout pond, put 300 fish in it, had 200-300 kids come out and catch their first fish and able to take fish home and cook it and just starting their addiction. So that was like April 2019. Another one, we had a single mom of 4 girls. She got on the page, she's like, hey, I really want to get my kids into fishing. I don't know what to do or what to buy. And so I got on the page, man, here comes another idea for me. Let's help this lady out. We raised $500, $600 in 2-3 hours, and I went to Sportco and just loaded up a huge cart.
Stuff, I remember seeing that post,
And her girls, and just gave her that stuff. Bo, you can talk about the fundraiser we did for you.
Yeah, so I came into an unfortunate situation. I came back from hunting, and somebody had decided that they needed a dozen of my rods.
Reels?
More than I did. Yeah. So I ended up pretty much losing all of my tackle that I needed to go fishing with and go to work with the next couple days. And Jason, I didn't even know it at the time. Jason, I turned my phone off. I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm just going to sit here and pout. And,
try to figure out life.
Jason threw a GoFundMe up on the page, and 24 hours I had
$2,500 or something.
Yeah, $2,500 donated to the GoFundMe to
from the members of this
from the members to get me back on the water. And I don't even know what I would have done at that point in time. I was completely down.
That's just the power of social media, in a good way. When people need help, or they, you put a post out there to say, hey, would really like to help this person, or like the mom with 4 kids, 4 girls, she wants to get out fishing, or she's trying to steer their path in the right direction. She's trying to occupy their time so they don't end up running around in cars with boys and staying out late and doing all the wrong things, and eventually coming and visiting you at the jail, right? So let's get them fishing. My dad used to always say he saw a judge one time that made the claim, if you introduce or show a young man the outdoors and take him fishing, I'll never see that kid in my courtroom. And there's a lot of value to that, right? There's a lot of value to that, especially with today's society. So, Bo, you were the very first guide that connected with Jason on Washington State fishing. How did that relationship? That's actually a funny story. Talk about how your guys' friendship relationship blossomed under the WSF.
You want to tell a story about me?
Go. You start. I'll jump in.
So, Washington State fishing. I think we have maybe 15,000 members at the time, and me and my admin decided to go like no classifieds, no sales, no advertising. We just want this straight.
No soliciting.
Nothing like that. So we went to straight family fishing. Well, so we have to prove and deny posts on the page, and I'll talk about my admins in a little while and all they do, but I keep getting this guy named Bo Smith. He keeps putting posts up like, hey, I'm Bo Smith, Leadhead Guide Service, come fish with me. And I'm like, I just keep denying him, deny for like days. And so finally I messaged him like, dude, stop. Like, you don't see me denying your posts. He's like, I don't know. I just throw them up wherever I can. I'm just Bo Smith. I don't know. This is social media.
I'm just Bo Smith.
So I came up with this idea, and I hit my admins up, and it turned into this huge thing that I have now with sponsors and guides and charters. I hit them up, and I'm like, hey man, let's go fishing for a little bit and talk about this. Maybe you give me a couple seats to give off for free to my members, and I'll give you advertising rights for the year on Washington State fishing. Yeah. Kind of like you help me out, and you help my members out, and I'll help you out. And I went fishing with him. We spent 14 and a half hours on the damn river, and by the time I was done, I'm like, just get me home, man. I want to go. He's like, no, we're going. So I just saw how good of a guy he was.
What were you fishing for?
It was late steelhead season.
I thought for sure it's going to be Spring Kings.
I'm thinking Spring Kings would be a great trip to go on. Spring Kings.
I want everybody to line right in here if you've ever heard or referred to it as Spring King. Spring King, Springer, or Spring Chinook. Yeah. What do you call it? We're going to take a little poll here this evening. I think you're going to be ran over here by this. Spring King, Springer, or Spring Chinook. What do you choose? There we go.
So yeah, I hit him up. So he was the first guide business we had on Washington State fishing, and you getting comments already?
One for Springer. One for Jerry Springer.
Anyways,
Two Springers.
So now I have, started with Bo, now I have probably 8 to 10 charters and guides all over Washington State that give me from 2 to 4 seats to contest off my members completely free. Yeah. And then they get to advertise and share their posts and businesses on the page. And the cool part about this is that guide that we've brought into the page, they get that section of their business. I mean, they don't have to fight with 500 other businesses and guides. And
specifically so Bo out here, Grays Harbor region areas, yeah. You're the only one.
Yep.
On Washington State fishing, you're the only guide that's representing this area.
Yep.
Your charter guy is out of Westport.
The Slammer he's our Westport bottom fish guy. Yeah. We've got the Mark Coleman, he's our tuna guy. So just different places all over the state that they have that, and it's a good. I've built relationships with these people. Right. I mean, I've talked with them and fished with them and had long conversations, eaten dinner with their families. Like it's a relationship I built with these guys, these companies, and it's turned into something so big. This year alone, I have over 40 free guided trips to give away to my members.
Oh, well.
Fishing rods. I have St. Croix rods I'm giving away for free.
Yeah,
Gear.
awesome.
Just all kinds of stuff. So it all started with a annoying...
No.
It wasn't necessarily annoying. It was somebody that didn't exactly know what they were doing on the social media, Facebook at the
Bo
get-go.
knows fish, Bo don't know social media.
Yeah, I know social media. But,
Bo knows fish.
Yeah, so I want to jump back real quick, if I can, Duane, and talk about just two real quick of the other fundraisers we've done, because they're pretty important.
Hold that thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we got a lot more ground to cover. We got
Roger.
more kids stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about rods and reels for kids. We're going to talk about additional monies raised. We got the White Strong campaign you did.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk about Cooper Dyson and the diaper drive. Those are coming up.
All right.
Don't want to blow it all here in one shot. So did I just say it?
Oh, shit.
David, do we have ability of commercial? Oh, we're going to try commercial again.
We got
okay.
two thumbs up this time.
Yeah, let's hope it works.
Thumbs this time, that's all.
Our sponsors deserve their commercial time, Butterfield. If it doesn't happen, they're going to charge you. So, good with that? Oh, there's his IQ again. So, with that, we're going to jump out for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Come back. We're going to jump into the bait lab. We're actually going to a little rollback in time. We're going to talk drift fishing for steelhead. For all you bobber doggers, and that's specifically all you've ever been trained to do, write this down. Drift fishing for steelhead. We're going to show you how to get back to basics. We come back right after this break, right here on FHN.
Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers, or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
At Metal Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
What if there was a smarter way to search for your new home? Introducing the Better Homes and Gardens real estate website and mobile app. This revolutionary new search tool puts your needs first. Narrow your search to what matters most to your family, like school data, school districts, and even walk scores. Get easy access to your local affiliated agent, as well as unique and local insights about neighborhoods and properties directly within the app. With synced and saved preferences, you'll always pick up wherever you left off. Get your smarter search started today with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate.
Hey, welcome back to Fish on Northwest. We are here in the bait lab for this week's installment of, what do I call this? What was I calling this, David?
Old school.
Oh, yeah, old school. Drift fishing for steelhead, rolling it back. The how-tos in the bait lab are presented by, God, I am losing my mind this evening. Yeah, thank you. I almost said it. Okay, presented by Max Lures. I think we can back this up and start over again. Anyway, too much going on in between break. I apologize. Anyway, Max Lure is on board, bringing you our Bait Labs selections here. So tonight, in all truthfulness, we are going to talk about drift fishing. And it's funny, every time nowadays you mention drift fishing, folks go, oh yeah, you're flossing, or you're just, yeah, you're dragging long leaders or whatever. That is not typically the history of drift fishing. So it all started out drift fishing, believe it or not. If you were a bank fisherman back in the day, you were a drift fisherman, and we're talking leaders of 18 to 30 inches typically is what we're talking about. And I'm going to walk through a number of different presentations here that you can, or offerings that you can present out there as you're drift fishing with your weight, believe it or not, actually ticking along the bottom. And we're not talking about a bunch of weight that is, you know, you're throwing out there on the bottom of the river and it's starting and stopping where you got to lift your rod and get it to move and drift on through the hole. We're not talking about that. We're also not talking about using enough weight that your rod tip is constantly just bouncing like crazy, okay? We're talking about matching current speed in water that's conducive to holding steelhead, that is actually going through at natural current speed. And if you're doing it right, and we're going to show you how to do that tonight, your lead is basically tapping bottom about every 3 feet or so. About every yard, you're just coming in contact with bottom, keeping your presentation down in the strike zone. So when we talk about drift fishing, I'm going to break down these rods and show you different riggings on them. We're going to talk about different weight options that you have to figure out exactly what type or how to present your weight. But at the end of it, this is considered terminal gear, okay? You basically are offering them something that if everything goes right and it's a hatchery fish, it's a terminal day, so it's terminal gear. We have a number of things that we can use on this board that you can drift fish. And everything on this board that you can drift fish, you can also bobber dog. So for all you folks that are so happy with your results and how easy bobber dogging is, it actually all started with drift fishing. Back in the day, we would drift fish all this stuff long before you ever took a float stuck at 8 feet or 10 feet above this particular presentation, and it was just drifting through the drift. So if we look over here to my left, starting off, one of the old tried and trues, the YBC Spin and Glow, been around forever. Oftentimes back in the day, if I was drift fishing with Spin and Glow, I'd run a double hook setup because I'm putting a sand shrimp on there, which is a great offering for steelhead, okay? And as we let that work through the water, that's just, the lead is dragging, and as you can see on this board, most of these are all rigged with stick leads because anymore, if I'm drift fishing, that's pretty much all I'm using. I'm gonna walk through different leads in a little bit, but for me, it's all about the stick lead, drift fishing, matching the current speed, and presenting an offering that moves along naturally, one that doesn't constantly start and stop. Spinning glows have been used for years. Corkies is something I grew up on. A lot of folks have a chest drawer of corkies. Here's a lot of the old ones that I have from back in the day, all various colors, all different sizes. Simply, believe it or not, back in the day, you could get steelhead on something as simple as a size 10 or 12 little corky. This pink pearl and that sunrise combination back in the day would get it done with a single hook. No bait, no scent, no nothing. No, you're not flossing because, again, you're using about a 20-inch leader in a single corky. And yes, fish will bite those. It's no different than nowadays when they will go after a bead. So just a different type of buoyancy, a different type of feel for them. Obviously, this is a hard surface that they would bite on. But steelhead are driven by color and color contrast for sure. And back in the day in clear water, some of these colors were hard to beat. If there was a steelhead in there, believe it or not, it wouldn't take much. If you were first line to pass through the water, a simple little corky, a hook, and you were in business. So corkies worked forever. They still do. They haven't gone away. You can still use them. Whether you end up setting up a double rig or fish that single. As we progress, soft plastics become pretty prevalent nowadays. You know, egg clusters that look like our old Okie drifters have become pretty popular. There's a number of manufacturers out there making soft egg clusters. You can pin those up just like you would a bead. It's a soft plastic. It's neutral buoyant. You put a hook on there. It typically, depending on size of hook, I typically couple these. If you can find them with a size 3, believe it or not, is a great size hook to run with a soft plastic. Down here I got one of the new B&R soft beads. You know, bead fishing has become all the craze. You can actually drift fish beads and they do very well. All different sizes. B&R for me is one of the go-tos. Obviously they have so many options, different colors. These pearl, these multicolor ones that look like that faded out, bleached out egg that is just kind of tumbling along down the river. Oranges and peaches, some of them with white accents. These all work based on water conditions, and typically a single bead of various sizes depending on water clarity and depth is going to get it done. Yes, they drift fish very well. A lot of folks fish them under bobbers, either bobber dogging or suspended under a float, but drift fishing works great. Believe it or not, you can also drift fish with soft plastic worms. Put that with a corky. Again, I use this setup a lot bobber dogging, but you know what? It works very well when I'm simply drift fishing. You can drift fish soft plastics. Now, one of the go-tos for years is making homemade rigs. This one's a little on the large side. I use that puffier yarn. After it gets wet, I typically trim these down a little bit depending on water clarity. So I always like to make them a little bigger just in the event I'm fishing waters that are with minimal clarity. I have a nice big profile that's going to get them. Typically match that up with some egg or some shrimp in the bait loop there. Okay, going to cinch that up, pull that down. This is just made out of backer rod and multicolors of yarn. The reasons for multicolors, 2 or 3 multicolors on your rags, is because of contrast. Again, steelhead key in on color contrast, so I want to make sure I give them a lot of colors to choose from. A little diversion from that, but still kind of the same idea, is just simply a yarny, multicolor yarny ball. They're somewhat buoyant, but you can fish those with a size 1 or a size 1/0 hook is going to do very well. These yarnies are great. They're very inexpensive to make, and by drift fishing those, they work fantastic. Now, one thing you can do when it comes to yarn, no matter if it's on a rag or a yarn ball, is by adding some of your oils. I typically use Mike's. I think it's the best in the market because of how natural they smell and how well they work. But anytime I add oil, an oil-based product to any of your yarns, and it absorbs it, not only does it add scent, it adds a tremendous amount of scent, but it also adds buoyancy. You'd be amazed at how much higher this yarn ball will float in the water column simply by adding some oil to it. So you have scent and you have additional buoyancy with your yarnies. If you're not adding scent to your yarnies, you need to start doing that. It gives them something else to key in on. You draw them with the color, they have a little scent, and again, it adds increased buoyancy. Now, one of the old standbys that we've used for years, if you grew up in the 70s and 80s fishing, is the old Okie drifter. My buddy Herzog for years was reintroducing the old theory of the Okie drifter, the original ones back in the day. That's what these are. These seldom get fished because I just want to hold on to them because they're not very easy to find. But in fact, going back to it, the Okie drifter is one that's been around for years. Back in the day, much like the corky, you could simply fish a single Okie drifter, a size 1 or 1/0 hook, and steelhead would absolutely go after those things. And, you know, for all intents and purposes, still do today because it's been tried and true. It's something that works. Any and all of these will work because they are buoyant or neutral buoyant. Some of them have action. They have color. They have contrast. They're exactly what you want to utilize for drift fishing. So how do we get there? What is drift fishing all about? Set this down real quick. Okay, so a lot of it starts with our lead options. Okay, now for me, here is a typical drift fishing setup. I like to use a bait casting setup. I typically, from fishing the bank, I'll run a 9 to 9.5 foot rod. As you can see on here, I have a rag lure, and of course I have my stick lead. I have about a 20 inch leader, I have my main line, which, because I also use this rod for bobber fishing, I have a top shot of 20-pound monofilament tied onto my braid. Now, for years I advocated, hey, don't use braid for drift fishing. If you get hung up, you leave a lot of braid in the river. I would say that to folks that tie their braid directly to their swivel at the terminal end of their tackle. If you put on about 12 or 18 foot of monofilament top shot, you have a very small section in there with stretch capability. You also have a break-off portion of your line that if it does get wrapped up into something, you have to snap that off. If you're going to leave anything in the river, it's going to be that monofilament and not the braid, which is better for the environment. So you can use braid for drift fishing, and I actually advocate that you do because it telegraphs so much better as you go through your drift. You can feel that weight touching the bottom every so often, which is exactly what you're striving for. So put that top shot on there. Run your stick lead or whatever weight choice we're going to run through here that you can choose from. You know, again, 18 to 36 inch leader. That's going to depend on the buoyancy of your presentation and the clarity of your water, okay? If you have a really buoyant lure like a rag and I run a 36 inch leader, depending on the current I'm fishing in, that thing may float up well out of the strike zone of the fish that I'm targeting. If the water's not that high and the current's not that fast and I got a pretty buoyant lure, I may want to shorten that leader down to about an 18 to 20 inch leader, which is only going to allow it to rise so high in the water column, keeping it in the strike zone of where the fish are at. I'm going to add my scent to that rag. I'm going to run that 1 or size 1/0 hook, and that's going to get it done as I drift fish that through the water column. Now, when you're drift fishing, here's the key to drift fishing. I'm looking out at the water and it's moving from my right to my left. I'm going to cast upriver at about a 45-degree angle. The current's going to start carrying that presentation back towards me to where it's going to at some point be straight out in front of me. As it is dropping, it begins to contact bottom about every yard or so. As that line comes sweeping through, I collect my slack in the line so I can feel that rod tip just following the bottom contour, okay? Now when I begin to put that presentation out there, I don't cast all the way across the river. I need to fish the near water to my side first. So I'm going to throw it out upriver on the inside. You'll see where that current seam is breaking out there. And that soft water on the inside of that current seam is a very good starting point of where fish like to hold. I'm going to toss that out there, let it drift through, collect my slack, come, and I'm going to follow the rod tip down river with my line. I'm going to follow my line down river. Now the biggest mistake a lot of folks make when they first start drift fishing is they'll get about 2/3 of the way through their drift. It'll drop off the inside of the current, and next thing you know, they start reeling in. And that's the biggest mistake you can make, because a lot of times as that drops in off of the current, it will lie there for a second. That's where fish are going to come over and pick it up. So you don't necessarily want to reel that in too quickly. You want to allow that to come off of the current edge, sit for just a little bit, see if a fish doesn't pick it up at the end of the drift and start giving you something to feel. Now you're going to repeat that. You're going to cast out a little further. You're going to let it swing through the drift. Again, it's going to break past the current. It's going to slow down and just kind of stop, settle in that soft water, leave it sit. You've casted further. It actually pendulums downriver a few feet further than your previous cast. You're going to cast mid-river, okay? You're going to only cast out to the water that's moving fast as maybe that you would like to walk, is what they usually reference. If it's really raging on the other side, don't even waste your time. Don't need to throw it over there. First of all, it's not going to get down to bottom because it's moving too fast with your weight. Secondly, as it gets to the tail end, it's just going to pendulum up and come out of the strike zone. So you got to kind of pick your battle. So work that stretch of water from inside to out. Take steps 10, 15 feet downriver, repeat the process. 45 up, let it swing through, let it drop off the inside of the current seam, let it sit, let those fish come and pick it up, let them come to you, and when you feel that fish pick it up and start bouncing your rod tip, you need to set the hook pretty darn aggressively. It's not like we have a float that they can take down that you can see. It's not like they're just picking it up and swimming along with it. You need to feel that fish, you need to reel down, get the slack out of the line, and give them a good pop, really bury that hook, okay? That's a typical drift fishing setup. Again, I like a 9.5 foot rod. 6 to 15 for me gets it done all day long. One of my favorite line weights of rods to fish steelhead. So, some other options we have. Now, if you are in a drift boat or a sled and you're fishing with a guide or somebody is talking to you about how to present this offering 45 degrees out the back of the boat. This is side drifting. Side drifting is not to be confused with drift fishing. Side drifting typically employs about a 6, 7, sometimes 8 foot leader. Oftentimes they run a little dual hook setup with a small cheater or something. You put some bait in the bait loop. I have a single piece of lead out there. I'm actually going to cast this. Now the biggest difference here is I'm not standing idle on the bank. I'm in a boat that's moving. So as I throw this, you know, at a 45 behind us and we're moving downriver, we're literally just dragging this down through the holes. We're just letting that lead tap every so often. It's a technique, it's a method. It's, for whatever reason, there's many that are convinced that a longer leader for side drifting works better. I've spent years side drifting with 3 foot leaders and have caught plenty of fish. I have never bought into the theory that we need 6 foot leaders. I have fished them with other folks in boats and I'm okay, that's what we're doing, great. I think you can side drift and do just fine with 3 foot leaders, but what do I know? So side drifting is a different technique. It's not to be confused with drift fishing. Now, that being said, side drifting is not what you're doing if you're standing on the bank fishing a 6 or 8 foot leader. You are flossing. There's a difference, right, Bo? So there is drift fishing, which we're talking about tonight. There is side drifting, which is a technique that's been used in Washington State and in the Northwest for years. Very productive when in a boat moving with the current, matching current speed, dragging multiple baits and presentations through the hole, longer leader, whatever. That is side drifting. If you're standing at the bank and you're casting out 6 and 8 foot leaders with a small little cheater or floaty device and an oversized hook or a little piece of yarn and a hook, you are flossing. You are not drift fishing. If you have anything longer than a 30-inch leader, 36-inch leader for whatever reason, and you're fishing the bank, you are not drift fishing, you are flossing. I just want to be clear on that. So it's a technique that's proven, and if that's how you fish, great. I'm just trying to dispel the rumors and the misinformation, the difference between drift fishing, side drifting, and flossing, because there is a difference, okay? Let's talk about a few different options for weight. Now, one thing to consider too is, as I mentioned before, anything you can bob or dog, you can drift fish. And this particular rod is set up, believe it or not, it has 2 presentations on here, okay? I have my main presentation, which I would put a little piece of bait on there, and that's gonna work great. And I also drag along this little tiny fly egg, single egg offering that's about 18 or 20 inches behind my main offering. There's nothing wrong with fishing dual rigs. Fly guys have done it for years. Sometimes they fish 2 or 3 rigs. It all works. Sometimes when drift fishing, you can get away with that. If you can cast it and not get it tangled up, you can do a double offering. Some different options for weight. Now for me, there really is no other option. I'm going to fish stick leads all day long, but for some of you guys, you like to do different things, okay? And that's fine. One thing we can do is we can simply tie on to our barrel swivel a little extra piece or tag line, the piece on there. We take our pliers and we take our hollow core lead and we're just going to cut a little piece off of here with the pliers that make it so you don't press or clamp shut that piece of hollow core. And we'll see if we can get this in here, if my eyes will work tonight. So one method is to simply put this little piece of line on here, and then I push through this piece of leader, okay? Now I have that on there, and all I have to do is crimp that on, okay? Now the thing about drift fishing is, more times than not, and with stick leads I don't really have to worry about it because typically they don't get hung up that much. So if you're not getting hung up, it's not an issue. If you're fishing weights that tend to get hung up, you want to have a release mechanism. Because drift fishing, your weight is contacting bottom. So by putting this on here with a hollow core and a little piece of line sticking off there, if that gets hung up, no big deal, because all you got to do is pull hard, and that's going to end up sliding off that line, and you can get your presentation back. So 1/8 inch hollow core with a piece of leader on there works great in that regard. All right. Some other options that we can talk about. Get back to my main drift fishing rod here. So I have a crane swivel on here, which is nothing more than a barrel swivel with a lock. Let me pull that out. So That's why these stick leads work so great, because they have an eye at each end and I can hang them in there. They're going to fish all day long. You seldom lose them. They work great. If I don't want to do that, back in the day, we used to take solid core lead with a piece of surgical tubing, and another way of doing this is simply to punch this through. See if I can do that, but probably not on that. There we go. On this swivel, now I put that piece of surgical tubing and I just simply press that lead into that surgical tubing. Now, when that gets hung up, okay, and that's pulling on there, more times than not, when that lead's in the rocks, it's just going to pop out. Now you reel that in, you haven't lost your leader and all your gear. You just simply cut off another piece and put that in. Works fantastic, has worked for years. I typically don't use the surgical tubing anymore because I've gone to stick leads. Another option, of course, is slinkies. You can build them yourself. You just take shot, you take a parachute cord and a lighter and some pliers, you put the shot in the cord, and you have yourself a slinky. These also work very well. They get hung up far less than solid lead does for whatever reason. They don't weigh as much. If you have a piece that's the same length as lead, it's not going to weigh as much, so you may have to run a longer piece, but that's nothing more than lead shot in the parachute cord, and you can simply, work that through on your swivel and connect that too, and then that is also a mechanism for weighting. Of course, this won't pull out or release in any way, shape, or form, so if you get hung up, it's probably going to break. The other option is to take hollow core lead, okay, and cut a piece off, much like these here, and you take your punch pliers. For a lot of you that don't know, that's what that punch is for, and you're just going to set that over here and squeeze it down and basically punch a hole in there. All right, so now, oops, missed it. Cut that off, do it again. So I'm going to punch that lead. Okay, so now I got a nice hole that I put in there. I usually like to pinch these a little thinner, just so that I have that tearing point. That's what all these lead pieces are for and why they have holes in them, because you punch that lead. Now I'm going to hang that on the swivel, close that up. Now this one gets hung up. It actually works pretty well. That'll actually tear through that thin piece of that lead. It's a great way to do it. Again, I don't mess with any of this stuff. I pretty much just resolve to use my stick leads when it comes to drift fishing, because they work so well. A 6-inch stick lead is going to weigh about 0.47 to 0.48, just under a ½ ounce. And you have sizes that vary from 5-inch down to 4, 3, and 2. Pretty much you can quick change them out because they have eyelets at each side. And they just give you a really nice natural drift. If you're drift fishing and haven't used the stick leads, give those a try, because it's really going to up your game as far as sensation, feel, and how natural they match current speed. You can use any weighting system you want for your leads when drift fishing, but for me, it's all about the stick lead. It's all about vibrant colors and presentation. Yarnies are a great go-to. Can't dismiss the fact how well bait works when presented drift fishing. And remember, at the end of your drift, always allow that presentation to sit, ever be so slightly, at the inside seam on the end of that drift, and wait for those steelhead to come pick them up. Okay, that's enough here in the bait lab. That went on for quite some time. Hopefully you hung in there with me after I got off to a rocky start because I couldn't remember anything. Bo's laughing at me. Anyway, with that, we're gonna jump out for a quick break. Hopefully the commercials work. And when we come back, we're gonna be back in studio with the guys from Washington State Fishing. Much more to talk about, and we'll be back right after this break.
Defiance boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Defiance boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. Defiance boats feature a 21 to 22 degree dead rise at the transom and a large reverse chine for incredible handling and stability offshore. Defiance boats are foam, flotation filled, and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Defiance boats feature fuel-efficient hull designs with large fuel tank capacity so that you can have maximum fuel range for making long offshore runs completely safe and affordable. All Defiance boats come standard with self-bailing decks for improved safety while at sea. Defiance Boat offers all our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Defiance Boats for all your boating needs, and let us help you get out on the water. Sterl Inc. is located in Puyallup, Washington. Sterl Inc. is your neighborhood quality one-stop shop for your team, outdoor clothing, screen printing, and embroidery. At Sterl Inc., we are passionate about the outdoors and our environment. We only use environmentally safe products. If you fish, chances are you're getting a discount. At Sterl Inc., we take pride in working with the customer to get you exactly what you need. Let us help you with all your screen printing and embroidery needs at sterlinkprints.com.
You're good. Are we back?
Yeah.
Well, here we are.
Maybe I should be looking up. Yeah. I'm trying to catch up on questions, and this entire show has been up and down. So I don't know what you guys brought with you. It's good.
Yeah.
We're getting through it. We got some technical stuff going on tonight, man. The gremlins are out right before the Snowmageddon freaking hits us. So make sure on your way home, pick up plenty of beer, whiskey, and water.
Yes.
And drink sensibly. Oh, nice morning. Perfect. Well, hey, we're back here in studio with Jason Hummel and Bo Smith. Talking Washington State Fishing Group and all that they've been able to do this last several years and what they've accomplished. Let's talk a little bit about Shop with a Cop, a little something campaign you guys rolled out last year, or was it 2016, 2017?
So Shop with a Cop was kind of an extra thing we did on top of the rods and reels. Yeah, I think it was 2018 maybe, but we put a fundraiser out and we were able to buy enough rods and reel combos through Sportco. We bought 100 rod and reel combos, and we did a big WSF meet. We handed every single kid that came to this, no matter what age, I think it was like 15 was the oldest kid, but we handed every single one of them a fishing pole, a free rod and reel, and they got to go home with them. And then I did some kind of contest, if I remember correctly, like, show me a picture of your kid fishing with this, like go out with take your kid to the lake and catch a trout or something, and I sent him a free shirt or whatever, a free hat, just to show that the rods and reels are making good use, I guess.
Nice.
So, and then the police department I work for, I think I had like 13 left over, and every year at the PD we take out during Christmas a group full of kids that are having hard times with their families and stuff, and I ended up giving them all rod and reels too. So that was a pretty cool experience. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was a good one.
You've done a number of things, like I had mentioned earlier in the show, that have benefited families and individuals greatly. Let's talk a little bit about Wide Strong. How you connected with this kid?
Yeah.
Try to keep it together, brother.
Oh God.
He's down in Oregon, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's his story for those anybody that's following you from your page understands what this is all about? For our followers, and maybe WSF is new to them. This is a great story, and hats off to you for what you did here.
Yeah, sure. So WSF's obviously a lot more than just fishing and posting pictures and techniques and guides and contests. I'm using me and my admin are using this platform to help as many people as we can out. So like I told you earlier, posts get denied or improved, and a post came through my page one day, maybe a couple weeks before Christmas or whatever, and it was a GoFundMe account. And I hate to say this, but normally I deny GoFundMe accounts because with 40,000 people, I I have people all the time trying to post, try to get money for different causes. So I hate to be the Grinch about it, but I kind of just X-ed all of them. And the GoFundMe account that came across the page here was just a 6-year-old kid with a fishing pole, and it said Wyatt Strong on it. And I'm like, man, I got to look into this a little more. So started researching the GoFundMe, and I found that this 6-year-old kid named Wyatt was going through kidney cancer. Mom, 2 boys. Mom was driving over 300 miles each way to get this kid chemo once a week. And so I'm like, man, this is kind of, I had a 6-year-old daughter at the time, she's 7 now, so it kind of just hit me hard. And again, just like Bo said, I kind of just jump on stuff too quick sometimes. I'm like, boom. I threw
doing this. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, I didn't even really talk to too many people, but I just threw up a GoFundMe and put the story out, and WSF members
came together big time.
Oh, huge. It's hit a lot
Unbelievable
of people.
support.
Again, in short order, right? I mean, it was
very short order.
God, 24 hours, and we raised like $3,000 for this family.
Wow.
We went to Sportco and bought all kinds of stuff. I mean, we wanted to give this family a really good Christmas, so we ended up doing that.
There was a couple of things that were also involved with that. Is I believe there was 5 guided trips that were donated to him. Ray Vermillion, Grace Harbor Guide Service.
Wyatt out to get him out. When he's healthy, get him out on the water.
When he's healthy, they're going to get him up here, get him out, get him fishing. Ray Vermillion, Grace Harbor Guide Service, or Grace Harbor Guide Association. Brianna Bruce,
Rhett Weber.
There's a
number of them. Yeah,
there's
so that was
a couple more there too.
The fishing community came to get together. Anyway, so this kid lives down in Oregon, and I hit Bo up and my buddy Mitch Myers out in Shelton, one of my partners at work, and I was like, hey man, can we load up these trucks and you guys help me deliver this stuff? And now we're talking like December, Mount Vernon, Oregon. Like I didn't even know there was Mount Vernon, Oregon, but so we drive 7.5 hours to this family. Trucks full of presents we roll up, and I mean it was like emotional and tears, and like it was really rewarding.
That's fantastic.
It was amazing to see the group come together.
How's he doing?
So, he's doing good. He's almost done with his chemo, and obviously he's got other tests and looking into some other kidney diseases and stuff, but
very high spirited.
Oh man,
ready to go fishing.
Ready to go.
Yeah,
that was an amazing thing that the group came together for him.
Well, as of recently, just before Christmas here, we lost one of our Pierce County deputies, right, Cooper Dyson. I was actually heading into work that morning. Drove by on the freeway, saw the lights of some of our crews out on the call. There were so many lights, I assumed, we must have had a fire or something. I got into work, started hearing what was going on, listening to radio traffic because it was just happening. And I was like, oh my God. Very, very, very sad situation for the Dyson family. But you once again, in like my organization that I work for, the organization you work for, everybody's stepping up, trying to help out at whatever level you could to, be part of
absolutely
helping the family and the brotherhood through this. It affected fire families in East Pierce, obviously. Cooper's dad is a captain there with East Pierce, and we're all strongly connected. So when I saw that you were doing this diaper drive for the Dyson, I was like, wow, man, Jason, that's fantastic. How'd that turn out?
Oh man, it was amazing. So, like I said, Cooper Dyson, 25 years old, passed away in service going to help a DV call, and his wife Brittany is due tomorrow with their baby. So
second child.
Second child. They have a 3-year-old boy. So wife's due.
Yep.
Cooper passed. I don't even, man, I'm trying to get through this. This is a rough one. Threw a fundraiser up on there with a picture of Dyson, Cooper and his kid in uniform and stuff.
Yeah.
And man, did it blow up quick. We raised, God, how much did we raise? Diapers. We raised $500 in cash, bunch of money, and then, man, I had boxes 35, 40 boxes of diapers, different sizes. Just the support from the fishing community to help this fallen officer, and it affected so many people statewide. I had people in Eastern Washington as a collecting hub, collecting all the diapers out there that met me the morning of.
Brought them over
to
that's fantastic.
Cooper's so it just shows you that WSF and the community does a lot more than just as a group for fishing page. And we do a lot.
It's community driven, community supported, and every time you've put the call out for action, I mean, your response is fantastic. It's one of the more community productive sites that I've seen. There's a lot of community sites on social media and Facebook, but you guys have something good going there with a lot of really good folks. And I think it just stems from outdoor folks in general, are just kind of like doers and givers, wouldn't you think, Barnum?
Yeah.
I mean, typically people that walk this walk and enjoy the outdoors are willing to help each other out and just kind of the mindset. And Jason, every time you guys put out the call for action, man, it's been happening. You guys are doing a fantastic job.
It's been great, and we got so much more planned this coming year. So
yeah, well, don't jump onto that too quick, because David, commercial's going to work.
It is.
Okay, we'll jump out for a quick break. We'll try to get a hold of Austin. Doesn't look like it's going to work, but if we don't get a hold of him, we'll just soldier on. We'll get through the rest of the show. So don't go anywhere. Got another segment with the guys here from WSF. Plenty more to talk about. And if you got some questions for the guys, go ahead and throw those up here. We'll try to jump back and scroll through, see if we can answer a few that have already been posted on here. Appreciate all the activity tonight. We got tons of stuff going on here, Jason, so you're doing great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really good stuff. It was noted on here, her baby is actually due today. So
yeah,
maybe we have another...
yeah, I know they were inducing if it wasn't due today or tomorrow. So yeah, baby's coming. So.
Okay, well, let's hope everything goes good for the Dyson family from here forward. All right, with that, we'll jump out for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We come back more with the guys from WSF right here on FHM.
A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride right here in Bremerton, Washington. Arima Boats offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. With literally thousands of Arima boats on the water throughout the Pacific Northwest, Arima boats are a proven hull design that offers incredible fuel economy and all of the amenities that a serious angler is looking for. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Arima boats are designed to maximize deck space while also providing ample seating. Contact us today at Arima Boats for all your boating needs and let us help you get out on the water. Sterl Inc. is located in Puyallup, Washington. Sterl Inc. is your neighborhood quality one-stop shop for your team, outdoor clothing, screen printing, and embroidery. At Sterl Inc., we are passionate about the outdoors and our environment. We only use environmentally safe products. If you fish, chances are you're getting a discount. At Sterl Inc., we take pride in working with the customer to get you exactly what you need. Let us help you with all your screen printing and embroidery needs at sterlinkprints.com.
Hey, welcome back to FHN, right back here in studio with the guys. Austin is the dark side of the moon, as we say, unreachable.
Not happening.
Isn't that right, IT? Not happening tonight. Kind of disappointing. Really want to talk about that winter kokanee fishing. You guys ever gone over the east side fish kokanee?
I haven't. I see.
Bo?
No, I mean, it looks amazing. I'm guessing Chelan and stuff like that, right? Roosevelt.
Well, you know, Chelan has a lot of fish.
Yeah.
Typically, because there's so many, the size of the fish, continue to stay down.
Yeah.
But so far, our buddy Austin Mosier over there for winter kokanee on Roosevelt's doing pretty well.
Nice.
Lots of decent sized fish, and if there's good numbers in there, typically January, February, excuse me, we can look forward to that spring opportunity. And that's, I've had a couple good years over there in that June time. I mean, you're talking kokanee 2 to 6 pounds.
It looks like a blast, and I hear they cut and they eat.
Unbelievable.
Great. Yeah.
Unbelievable. That is a destination, and I believe I'll be towing the boat to Wyoming this year. Shing and I are going to go hit Flaming Gorge also, another opportunity for 2 to 6 pound kokanee. So some really good options over there on the east side. albeit we can't get a hold of Austin, but I can tell you for certain that those fisheries are well worth it. And oh, by the way, we are Barnum. I got our cabin rented for Twin Lakes, so we're all set to go. Last day of May, first week of June, we're heading to Twin Lakes for triploids. Again, it's that 2 to 6 pound average. How did we do last year?
Big fish, and lots of them.
And you and Steph brought home plenty. Shing and I brought home, I think, 41.
Right. Hey, don't make me jealous down here.
I'm telling you, if you're not fishing kokanee, larger kokanee opportunities when they're here, and some of those triploids, albeit they're big fatty planted rainbow, but talk about great family fisheries and just a way to get away from the west side, get over there on the east side, dry weather.
Good even weather,
if this time of year it's a little colder, or just wait till we start turning the corner, March, April, some of those trout fisheries start firing up, the ice starts melting on some of those lakes. It's go time, and the more we can jump over there and take advantage of that stuff,
Sounds like a great spring or Alternative.
Yeah, you can't find your spring king.
Your spring kings anywhere.
Go get your spring kokanee, because they're over there too, right? Yeah, absolutely. So, what do we got here? Saying if you need a deckhand, I don't need a deck. Oh, if I need a deckhand, yeah, Shane, you're first on the list, no problem. Jason, credit to you guys, man. You got a lot of comments on here from your fans and followers this evening. Got a lot of good stuff you guys are doing. People love throwing out there what you guys are doing.
That's great.
We do apologize for the randomness of some of our show this evening. We had a little, technical problems with our commercials, and this isn't normal flow, but you guys
we're having fun.
Yeah, that's all that matters. What do we got going on in 2020 with WSF? What are some goals you guys got set, or what do you think is going to be some of the things consuming your time?
Obviously, we're going to do more kid stuff, whether it's trout ponds or I think me and, again, Mitch Myers, he has a sled. We're thinking about getting maybe 5 or 10 15 people with sleds or boats and going out to a stocked lake for trout and getting people out on, kids and parents out on boats and doing like maybe trout derby, barbecue, getting my sponsors to jump in for prizes and stuff. So that's and then of course the trout pond again, because that was an absolute blast. Right. I was reading your comments when you were in the bait lab over there.
Oh, you're on my computer?
Yeah, maybe.
I better check the history. See what I've been looking at.
One of my members, James, commented on there and said his autistic kid caught his first fish, and he was just super. I mean, it was.
Oh, I can imagine the kid probably went.
An amazing experience. So more stuff like that is what pushes me to just do these things, man.
Any kid that catches their first fish. Our granddaughter at 2 years old, she didn't actually catch. I mean, it was on my 9-foot fly rod, right? But the fact that she was holding onto the rod and her arms were shaking, and she lifted that trout out of the water onto the dock, and we got it all on video. It's just so fun to go back and watch that with where she was at 2, the limited amount of words that she could say, but to express her joy just through that little experience. And now she's going to be 3 in February, and this whole thing around here and fishing, and she's all about fishing and popping. She gets it, and she sits here and interviews me, and I mean it's what you bring them up in, right? And for parents who maybe they didn't even grow up fishing, but they see an opportunity to introduce their kids and themselves to fishing.
The outdoors,
Yeah. Pages like what you guys have established is a great starting point for families, kids, what have you. The events that you're running to get kids involved. Bo, you guys as guides offering up trips, annually for Jason to put butts in your seats. It's not about a day of making money. It's about a day of creating memories and getting people out to experience that first. Well, we used to say experience that first steelhead or that first Chinook, but
struggling.
Hey, maybe you put a kicker boat around that drift boat, go to the east side, go get some triploids. You can catch kokanee in a drift boat, Bo.
Oh, I don't know that.
You can do clamp on down riggers. You can do the whole deal. It's what I did for years, and it works fantastic. If you need a little schooling up on that, we can walk you through that, no problem.
I might take you up on that.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, for a lot of kids, it starts with trout, right? And so when you do rod and reel drives or asking to collect gear and stuff, if it's specifically driven towards kids, are you looking for that trout gear? Are you looking for people to supply you with a lot of trout gear, or how do you kind of build that?
Mostly it's just been trout gear we've been doing, but I have members that have extra stuff that come and give me stuff to give to kids too. It can be anything from trout gear to salmon gear to. I mean, it. Whenever I post something, it just completely blows up.
Right. You guys we take it all and try to get it all back.
Oh yeah, I'd go somewhere.
You guys have any type of like annual get together, fish out, camp out? You know, back in the day, long before social media blew up as it was, we had the different fishing sites. Steelheader.net.
Gamefish or something, right? Wasn't there?
Gamefish was around. There's a whole bunch of them, pictorials still out there, but you know, Steelheader.net was one where I met tons of people back in the 90s and whatnot. And we would have these tillas. You know, we do the Calatilla, Clamatilla, where you used to get those spring kings down the Clamatilla. We would do, we had a handful of them. But it was a community that lived online, and then you know, you'd have your avatar picture on there. Nobody ever looks like their picture when you meet them. You know, it always blows me away when people come up to you, they got a hat on in their picture and they don't when they meet you, or it's vice versa. Or they're wearing sunglasses and a hat and they got a haircut and they're like, yeah, we're friends on Facebook. Don't you recognize me? I'm like, no. Am I supposed to? But the fact is, you bring these people together, right, at these campouts and you fish for 2 or 3 days, you camp, everybody throws in.
That'd be fun.
It's a great time, and it gets people off the electronic device, brings you together as a community. Then you can do some type of fundraiser or drive. Figure out one of your next missions, and you go, hey, everybody chip in $5. Well, if you get 50 to 100 people showing up, take over a campground at a particular lake or river, and it's all about community coming together, figure out what you're going to donate that money to. But
so you just sparked my mind. We did one of those recently. We did the clam dig.
The clam dig.
There you go.
Out in Mock Rocks, we did a huge clam dig. We had over 75 members come out, kids.
That is fantastic.
We took a big group picture, put it on the page.
It was huge.
Hung out for hours and
bonfire.
Was that here like December, November?
Yeah, it was cold as heck.
Yeah, it was towards the beginning of clam season. When it opened up.
Yeah. You got 75 people. You think about some type of summertime activity.
Oh, it'd be huge.
We're gonna try to get back to doing group functions. You know, we did a invite back when I was doing radio. We had a get together over there at Roosevelt. Austin Mosier was part of it, putting on seminars, teaching people how to go out and catch. I had people dragging their boats from Oregon all the way to Roosevelt because they wanted to come catch some of these kokanee. We put on seminars for both kokanee, triploids, and walleye. Had a bunch of prizes and stuff we gave away. People were there at the campground. We took over this campground. Folks were there for 2-3 days.
That's awesome.
They'd go fish. Though the fishing was tough, the water was high because of snow melt. The lake was just polluted with wood. You couldn't even troll. So everybody kind of gave up on rainbows and or triploids and kokanee. A lot of folks were over on banks fishing walleye. But regardless, you're all there. Community on the road, destination. Introduce folks to a new fishery. Tie in with some of your local experts in the area that are, you know, hopefully on board with your site, and have them help you out with
that's a great idea.
Sponsors and whatnot.
I like it.
You don't need sponsors to provide you stuff. You got plenty of that, and they're willing to give, obviously. But those are the types of things that make a difference because people will bring their kids to these events and get them out fishing, and it's a really good time. And if you put something like that together, we'll be sure to join you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You organize it, we'll be there.
Yep.
No problem.
Like it.
Yeah, so things to think about for 2020. You got plenty of fishing trips already, seats opened up with your guides.
Yeah, 30 to 40 guided trips to give away, gear, rods, all kinds of stuff like that. We usually do 2 or 3 group. We haven't done an outdoors one, but we usually do meets where we get everyone together. Well, your bottom fishing one's popular. Oh yeah, we're talking about that. The Barbie rod contest is coming up.
Oh, what time? When's that?
That's like April 12th or something. It's it's going to be great. We're going out on Rhett's boat out of West Portland Slammer, and it's on the Saturday one's just going to be like Barbie rods, and we're going to have prizes. Everyone's going to have the same pound test, probably 10 pound test with Barbie rods, and we're going to have prizes for different size fish. Oh, it's going to be great.
How many do they take on the Slammer?
20.
Because you guys have done bottom fish trips, and haven't you filled it up before?
Oh, it fills up so quick.
Yeah.
I haven't advertised this one. I think there's still like 12 seats left on it, but as soon as I start posting it up, it'll blow up.
Oh, well, 40,000 people, 20 seats take no time. Right? So,
shocker.
They're probably going to be full by the time this.
But go ahead. We announce the day right now. I bet before we click this close, you're done, right?
Yeah. It's in April sometime. But yeah, we do all kinds of meets like that, and they're always such a blast, man, to get everyone together fishing.
That's what it's all about.
My 7-year-old. She's been fishing with me on the ocean. She was 3 years old. We were 40 miles out fishing for halibut. I mean, she's been fishing.
Doesn't get seasick?
No, she's legit.
I've had her out there trolling for salmon, driving the boat.
She's got the bat. She's like, I want a bonker.
Oh
Daddy.
Yes. Oh yes. She likes the bat.
Fish killer.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm out there with the patch on her. I'm getting my ass kicked by a 7-year-old. So horrible. It is what it is, right?
Yeah,
But well, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. Yeah, steelhead numbers are down, and we got to wait for those rivers to drop back in shape. And after we get through Snowmageddon of 2020 and try to see where we're at, we got a couple sportsman shows to get through. Speaking of which, folks were asking, and yes, Barnum and I will, and the crew, the entire crew will be down at the Puyallup Sportsman Show coming up January 22nd through 26th, and doing our show live January 23rd from the venue down there in Puyallup. And correction on the time, been discussing with the event coordinators, and they've asked us to go ahead and do our show at our regular time. So Puyallup Sportsman Show, January 23rd, Thursday, we're going to do our live show from down there at the venue. Audience participation is appreciated. Yeah. So we got plenty of seats to fill. We're going to have some great guests we're lining up for interviews and some how-tos and possibly a cooking segment. We'll see if we can squeeze that in. We'll have some prizes to give away. It's going to be a really good time, 7 to 9 p.m. January 23rd down there at the Sportsman Show. So if you're hanging out there on Thursday, be sure to hang out long enough to join us for our live show. Then we'll also do that down in Portland. Same type of deal in February. We'll be down there for the full week. We'll have our booth. We'll be selling all our wares, all our clothing items, hats, the whole thing. We're getting some new items once again. Long sleeve tees with lettering. Shing's working all that stuff out. Anyway, it's too much for me to keep up on. But plenty of opportunity to interact with us at our booth, buy our stuff, and wear our gear proudly. And of course, come see us live at the show. Also, Barnum, apparently, I don't know if you're available, but I'm going to be set up there at Bass Pro.
I saw that.
Yeah, January 18th, next weekend. January 18th, Bass Pro and Cabela's is sponsoring their Guides and Outfitters Day, where you can show up to either venue and come in and talk to guides and outfitters and check out their businesses, tie in with some of them that are promoting their businesses, see what they offer, where you can get out with your family and take them fishing. We're going to be at Bass Pro in Tacoma promoting our show, handing out information, so you can be sure to continue to follow us and track what we're doing. And just stop by and say hi. Would love to see people. Won't be selling any of our stuff because it's their store, apparently. If it doesn't say Bass Pro, it's a no-go. So we'll have FHN and plenty of it down at Puyallup. So Bass Pro on the 18th, Sportsman Show 22nd through the 26th, live show on the 23rd. Tons of stuff going on, and things are just busy, even if we're not currently fishing. Once the snow settles, Bo, once the freezing level, we're getting down to 13 degrees, so I'm pretty sure those rivers drop pretty quick.
They're going to drop right in.
They're going to drop right in.
There's going to be some fish to catch.
You think so?
There will be.
There will be.
446 of them, it sounds like.
That's right. 446.
I'm looking for 445 of them.
Okay.
So
that's all you need. Right?
That's all I need.
That's nice of you to share one with us.
Well, hey, it's been a pleasure having you guys in here. About time we make the connection, and we'll continue. For all you folks on WSF Watch tonight, make sure swing by our Facebook page, give us a follow and or a like, and please get over to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe so you never miss a video or episode or anything we're posting up. Kind of follow what we're doing. We'll continue to tie in with the guys here at WSF and keep it going and try to foster this building of relationships between social media and user groups, and see if we can all start kind of beating the same drum. Wouldn't you say, Barnum?
I think we're all beating the same drum because I think Spring King won the poll.
No.
By far.
No.
By far.
No way.
Spring King.
No way.
We've started a trend.
No way.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
I guess
well, there it
now
is. Glad we all agreed with the Spring King. Dan Bandy. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, we are now all Spring King fishing instead of Springer fishing.
We told you what we're going to do.
Yes.
Yep. All right. It's coming. Look for it at the booth. We'll have them there. So, all right. Any parting words before we get out of here?
No, I'm happy to be here, and this was fun. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in between scenes, we're cracking up and laughing. So this is
Good time.
I want to say thank you to you guys for all you do and all the research you do, and just the communication on what's going on and getting it out to the public.
Appreciate that.
And I know it's a lot of work, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and a lot of effort goes into it.
It's passion, Bo. It's passion.
I really want to thank you guys for that.
No problem, man.
I want to thank the WSF members for getting on the asking questions and
helping with all the fundraisers and everything
you do.
Because
it's a great community. You guys are doing great.
I can't express the love for you guys that I have, just the way you've helped me and what I've seen you guys do and how fast you do it. It's just, it makes me want to be that much better and want to keep doing more and more of it.
Pretty awesome.
And just supporting Jason and what he's doing and backing him on every idea that he comes up with for this, because the more and more we do, I feel it's going to bring us all that much closer together.
The more you do. I mean, there's, you do it, and it's like every time you throw something out there, another calling to, come together, it's like, boom, people are there. And you keep gaining more and more folks, so it's like...
It's huge.
Yeah, it's just building.
It's building that platform, so...
Yep. Big shout out to Shing, as we always do, for her meal this evening. It was, in my mind, fantastic.
Absolutely great.
So good.
What's funny is you guys are blowing it up on Facebook. It's like, oh, wait for the dinner. Oh, man, wait for the dinner. And she's like, oh, my God, they're holding me. I'm going to have to step up my game. I'm like, just do your thing.
You did good. Fine. It was good.
Yeah, so, well, we got some guys calling for a recount on the Spring King. So.
Knock this off.
That's classic. I may have to turn somebody loose on here. Josh, you need to count.
Create a poll on the Facebook.
Yeah, you can create a poll, IT. I'll get Bo to do it. He knows how to do that.
Oh, yeah.
He's pretty tech savvy.
Yeah, social media king.
Matter of fact, if we don't, fix all these bugs and stuff tonight, Bo's stepping in as our new IT.
We have the IT crew tonight.
I know. It's working well. All right, we're going to get out of here. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. We had a lot of fun, even with all the ups and downs and it's technical jargon. I can't explain it, but it just happens, and we get through it. Even if I can't remember to say what I'm supposed to say when I'm supposed to say it. It's been one of those nights. Get ready, get to the store, buy your water, buy your beer, buy your ho-hos, whatever you need. Get your flashlight batteries. Red Bull. Get through the snowstorm. Be safe. Power provided next Thursday. Okay, I'll preface that with, if we have power, we have a show. We don't have power out here in Olympia, we don't have a show. So hopefully we bring it all together. Springer is running away here now. So.
All of a sudden,
It's too late. Shut the show off.
It's too late. The vote's over.
No, it's still going until we shut her down. Anyway, get through the week. Hopefully you get out and fish somewhere if you can, and if not, join us each and every day right there on Facebook. Interact with us. Check out our content. Stay interactive with us, NWSF, as most of you are doing. We appreciate your support, and have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday if we don't get blown out by snow.
Right.
Have a good night. We'll see you.
Spring Kings.
Spring